If you think this is just another story about crime and danger, wait until you see how a single mother, her giant dog, and a man everyone feared changed each other's lives forever. And before we begin, if stories of courage, unexpected kindness, and life-changing twists inspire you, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel, because this one will stay with you until the very last second. It was nearly midnight when Alina Foster realized her Neapolitan Mastiff wasn't just barking at shadows. The wind cut through the empty construction site on the edge of town, carrying dust and the faint smell of rain. Alina tightened her jacket around her shoulders and adjusted the grocery bag in her hand. Beside her stood Titan, 160 pounds of muscle, droopy jowls, and a heart far softer than his appearance suggested. People crossed the street when they saw him. Children whispered that he looked like a monster from a movie. But to Alina and her 6-year-old son, Leo, Titan was family. Life hadn't been gentle with Alina. At 28, she was juggling 2 jobs, waitressing in the morning and cleaning offices at night. Her husband had disappeared 3 years earlier, leaving behind debts, broken promises, and a frightened toddler who asked every night when Daddy would come home. Alina had stopped answering that question. Instead, she focused on surviving. Titan had come into their lives by accident. A client at the office cleaning job had been moving overseas and couldn't take him along. "He's too big, too much work," the woman had said. But when Alina saw the massive dog sitting quietly in the corner, eyes heavy with confusion, she saw something familiar. Abandonment. She took him home that same night. Now, Titan suddenly lunged toward the chain-link fence surrounding the abandoned construction site, growling low in his throat. Not the playful bark he used when Leo waved a stick in front of him. This was different. Urgent. Protective. "Titan," Alina whispered sharply, gripping his leash. "Easy." He didn't move back. Instead, he began pawing at a section of dirt near the fence where the ground looked uneven, recently disturbed. At first, Alina thought it might be an animal. A raccoon. A stray cat. But then she heard it. A faint sound. A muffled groan. Her heart stopped. She froze, straining to listen. The wind quieted for a brief moment, and there it was again, a desperate, broken noise, like someone trying to scream through layers of soil. "Oh my God!" Her hands began to shake. She looked around. The street was empty. No cars. No pedestrians. Titan barked once, loud and commanding, then began digging furiously, dirt flying in every direction. "Stop! Titan, stop!" she cried, terrified of what they might uncover. But it was too late. Within seconds, his massive paws had exposed something unnatural. A hand. A human hand. It was pale, covered in dirt, fingers twitching weakly. Alina's breath caught in her throat. Panic surged through her veins. She dropped the grocery bag and ran toward the fence gate, which hung loosely off its hinges. She didn't think. She didn't weigh the risks. She climbed through. The next few minutes felt like a nightmare. She fell to her knees and began digging with her bare hands beside Titan. Dirt packed under her fingernails. Stones scraped her skin. Her heart pounded so violently she thought she might faint. "Hold on," she whispered, though she had no idea who she was speaking to. "Please hold on." Finally, they uncovered a face. Bruised. Bloodied. Barely conscious. The man gasped as air reached him, coughing violently. His eyes fluttered open, dark, intense, filled with pain and something else. Authority. Even buried and half dead, he carried a presence that made her stomach tighten. Within 10 minutes, sirens screamed into the night. Alina stumbled back as paramedics took over. Police officers surrounded the area. Flashing lights turned the quiet construction site into chaos. One of the officers approached her. "Ma'am, did you find him?" She nodded, unable to speak. Do you have any idea who this is? She shook her head. But deep down, she had a feeling this wasn't just some random victim. And she was right. The next morning, the entire city exploded with the news. Matteo De Luca, alleged mafia boss, businessman, philanthropist to some, criminal mastermind to others, had been found buried alive and rescued by a single mother and her dog. Alina nearly dropped her coffee when she saw his face on the television at the diner where she worked. That's him, she whispered. Her coworker stared at her. You're kidding. That's the De Luca. People don't cross him and live. A chill ran down her spine. For 2 days, she heard nothing. Then, on the third evening, a black SUV pulled up outside her small rented house. Titan began barking immediately. Alina's heart pounded as 2 men in tailored suits stepped out. One of them walked to her door and knocked firmly. She considered not answering. But she did. Yes, she asked, trying to steady her voice. Ms. Foster, the man said respectfully. Mr. De Luca would like to thank you personally. I don't think that's necessary. It is. He insists. Every instinct told her this was dangerous. But another part of her, the part that had dragged a stranger from the earth, refused to hide. That night, she found herself standing inside a hospital's private wing, Titan at her side. Nurses and guards eyed the massive dog nervously, but no one stopped them. Matteo De Luca lay in the hospital bed, bandaged but very much alive. His eyes met hers. For a moment, silence stretched between them. You saved my life, he said, his voice low but steady. You would have done the same, she replied automatically. A faint smile touched his lips. You don't know me well enough to say that. She didn't respond. He studied Titan. Your dog found me. He doesn't ignore someone in pain. Matteo's expression shifted, something softer, almost regretful. You could have walked away, he said quietly. Most people would have. Alina crossed her arms. I'm not most people. And in that moment, something changed. Over the next few weeks, Matteo kept his promise of gratitude, but not in the way Alina expected. He didn't offer flashy gifts or envelopes of cash. Instead, her landlord suddenly repaired the broken heating system without charging her. The diner where she worked received an anonymous investment, allowing her to get a promotion to manager. Leo's school tuition was mysteriously covered through a community scholarship. She knew. She confronted him. I don't want charity, she said firmly during their next meeting. It isn't charity, Matteo replied. It's balance. Balance? You gave me back my life. I'm making sure yours becomes easier. But at what cost? She demanded. I don't want my son involved in anything dangerous. Matteo leaned back, wincing slightly from his injuries. You think I want children involved in my world? His voice carried something she didn't expect. Bitterness. As weeks turned into months, she began to see cracks in the man the city feared. Matteo visited Leo's school fundraiser anonymously. He donated to the animal shelter. He funded community projects quietly. But danger still lingered. The men who had buried him alive were not finished. One night, as Alina tucked Leo into bed, Titan growled at the window. Headlights flickered outside. Her blood ran cold. Moments later, her phone rang. Matteo. You need to leave your house. Now, he said urgently. Her heart pounded. Why? They're sending a message. Within minutes, black SUVs surrounded her home, not to threaten, but to protect. Gunshots echoed in the distance. Leo began to cry. Titan stood in front of them, massive and unmovable. That night, Alina realized the truth, saving someone powerful meant inheriting their enemies. But instead of running, she faced Matteo the next day. "I won't live in fear," she told him. "If you want to repay me, end it." He stared at her for a long time. "You're asking me to dismantle everything I've built. I'm asking you to decide what kind of man you want your second chance to belong to." Her words hit him harder than bullets ever could. For the first time in his life, Matteo De Luca considered walking away from the empire that nearly cost him everything. The transformation wasn't instant. It was messy. Dangerous. Allies turned into enemies. Accounts were frozen. Investigations reopened. But slowly, the empire crumbled. And in its place, something unexpected grew. A foundation, funded by Matteo's legitimate businesses, dedicated to single parents, abandoned animals, and rebuilding neighborhoods swallowed by crime. Alina never asked for recognition. Titan never asked for praise. But their simple act of refusing to ignore a buried stranger had sparked a chain reaction no one could have predicted. Years later, when Leo stood on a stage accepting a scholarship funded by the De Luca Foundation, he looked out into the crowd. At his mother. At Titan, now older but still proud. And at Matteo, no longer feared, but respected. A man who had been buried alive, and chose, after being pulled from the darkness, not to return to it. So if you ever wonder whether one small act of courage can truly change the world, remember this: sometimes it begins with a single mother who refuses to walk away, and a dog who hears what others ignore. If this story moved you, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more powerful, emotional journeys just like this. Because the most shocking transformations often begin in the darkest places.